Welcome to another episode of the Gap Down Backer podcast. Today, we have a special guest with us to talk trap and counter. Coach Mike Morrissey. Coach Mike Morrissey is the head football coach at Moline High School. Coach, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
No problem, Coach. And as I was telling him before we came on screen, he has a presentation for us on Belly and Lead on this channel as well. Now, whether it's out before or after this, I'm not 100% sure because I'm not looking at my schedule this exact second. My guess is it's roughly the same time. But again, if it's not on as you look, if it's not, it'll be in the link of this podcast if it's already out. If it's not, check back in like a week or two. It'll be on. It's some really good stuff on Belly and Lead.
Nick is trying so hard. He's got like 6 monitors going on his school desk. So whenever he's not teaching, he's out here editing 2 at a time, man.
It's a busy guy. It's a busy guy, that's for sure.
I've been getting a lot of work stuff done lately before you try to throw me under the bus. I was teaching especially today, I was teaching my butt off. I mean, talking about payday loans and prepping for their tests. Thank you very much. The life of a
life
business
lessons,
teacher.
Baby. That's it.
Yeah, just, oh, God. I feel like I'm getting thrown under the bus here, and I'm going to get called into my principal's office at this point. And I was going to ask how Mike Derry was doing here in a second, but now I just don't care. Like,
fair enough, man.
So before we get started on trap and counter, me and you talked a little bit about this, and I know once I told Mike Derry about it, he got extremely fascinated by the fact that Kurt Warner, when you were a head coach in Arizona, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Was your offensive coordinator. So, Mike Derry, this next segment is now yours. Here you go.
Well, man, I know it's your program, so there's no intimidation factor of it. But how did you mold like an NFL quarterback to fit what you kind of wanted to do?
Honestly, we just kind of sat down and talked together about it. You know, we evaluate the kids, we evaluate what our strengths and weaknesses were, from the top to bottom all the way through the program. And ultimately we decided on a system that was going to work best for us to try to be successful. And, I think we had a lot of fun doing it. We kind of identified some of the smarter players that we had and tried to move them around and use them in different ways as best we could, just like you would any offense that you're trying to build and create. And, I think we blended a lot of the things, a lot of our run game that I'd been used to, and then a lot of his passing game and terminology we blended as well. And, Kurt is a phenomenal guy. I think that's probably well known and everything else, but people don't realize just how good of a man he is and how committed he is to the kids and to see them be successful. So we had a lot of fun doing it. We had a team that was 1-5 the year before we got there. We went 1-9. I'm sorry. We went 6-5 and lost the first round playoff game. But it was a blast. We had a lot of fun, and fortunately, he's still somebody that I can pick his brain, on a week to week basis. And all the time I talked to him actually a little bit earlier. We were just texting back and forth about some things. And so he's a great reference and obviously an incredible football mind, just an unbelievable football mind.
Sure, man. I think one of my favorite things about him, and we can kind of go into this, anything that you've kind of learned from him, and I think he's one of the best Twitter teachers.
Oh my gosh,
I've ever seen, man. Just some of the stuff I've seen him do on Twitter.
Yeah.
I've just been fascinated by it. So how did you guys? How good is that in person? And there's any kind of tactics that you both have done that could help this podcast out a little bit?
You know what? Honestly, he's just starting it's called QB Confidential. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's a Twitter page that he just started, and it's basically for quarterbacks, coaches. He breaks down a lot of NFL film and does those types of things, and he does different chalkboard segments on that. We had him. We're very fortunate that he sat down with our kids in the summer and did a Zoom meeting with our quarterbacks and our receivers just to talk about the little things, the little nuances for not only the quarterback position, but how the receiver position can help out quarterbacks with their route running and their stems and their releases and their understanding of coverages. So honestly, I think the well-roundedness of his aspect of teaching the game is just incredible. The only thing we had some issues with was trying to speed things up at time in practice. I think he's got the NFL style where you can spend 10, 15 minutes on a couple of plays or a package set of plays and really go through the teaching and slow it down. Where at the high school level, 15 minutes. I mean, that's like an eighth of your practice. So you got to get moving. You know what I mean? You got to get flying around and get going and use the time that you have. But he's just incredible. Like I said, that QB Confidential Twitter page that he has is really second to none. I think he's going to end up with a website with it and all that kind of stuff. And really, he's just doing it for fun right now. I mean, he's giving it away. He doesn't charge people. Like, that's just not who he is. So I think it's definitely worth checking out if you're a quarterback or even somebody that runs any type of system. You can get something from that.
Sure. Well, that's all I have. I just found that was pretty cool and fascinating, man.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Like I said, I was just very lucky, and now even more lucky to be able to call him a friend and pick his brain, every now and then when we need it.
No, that's fantastic, and those are experiences you get to have that, friendships you develop because of this profession that are just interesting.
Yeah, and we got about 75 passing concepts that we could use. Obviously we don't, but if we anybody needed some passing game stuff, you just hit me up. I'll send you the huddle install. I got the whole thing. We may not use it very much, but if you're in need of some passing concepts, I got them.
I bet that thing is obscene. Like,
it's crazy.
Because I've seen some of these NFL playbooks, and oh my Lord, I've seen some of these are like 500-600 pages, and I'm just like,
oh, it's wild.
Like,
it is wild.
God, those are the days I'm like, I'm glad we run the wing tee because I couldn't I probably could if I tried, but memorizing 500-page playbook.
Oh my gosh.
Sweet God, just like that's why you get paid to do it though. But yeah.
Correct.
So I think it's crazy. Take that for granted, man. It's a job, man. It's not fun. I mean, it's like those guys train year round. Like the playbooks are. But people don't understand it. We coach football. We play football for fun. Those guys. I think a lot of people would be shocked how many people don't love football at the NFL.
Oh, the mental aspect is so challenging, and you wonder why. Why you can't get 32 really good quarterbacks in the NFL? It's because it's so hard. The cognitive part of the game is so challenging and difficult at that level that guys that can't grasp it, they might have all the ability physically in the world, but the mental side is just too much. And they can't. The game's too fast. So it's crazy. It's crazy to see that stuff.
Well, I think that's the reason why you saw for the longest time that a lot of these NFL quarterbacks when they were drafted, they sat a year before they played. Serious minutes. Like Carson Palmer didn't play a down his rookie year, not a down.
Aaron Rodgers
didn't play a down for 2 years.
Mahomes had a year.
Yep.
Mahomes played the last game and a half, just sparingly.
Yeah.
Alex Smith started the whole year.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other thing that's underrated is having a good veteran in front of you. John Kitna was in front of Palmer. Alex Smith was ahead of Mahomes.
Correct.
They may not have had the Kurt Warner-esque career, Kitna or
sure,
but they were still both very good NFL quarterbacks, very smart, who did very good things. Kitna won in Detroit and got Cincinnati 8-8. Alex Smith, outside of San Francisco, has won.
He's done very well. He's done very well. And John Kitna's an NFL coach. You know what I mean? He was an OC. He's been a coach in the NFL. So it's not like his experience didn't transfer over off the field as well. He's a smart guy, and I think that again, that mental side of things from that position is it's so important. And guys like Aaron Rodgers and Mahomes, they make it look easy, but it's really not. It's really challenging, and there's so many different components to defense and that level that it's hard to see when it's all in front of you so quickly.
Yeah. So now let's kind of transition. As much as we're having fun talking NFL and Kurt Warner, and I love Kurt. I loved watching Kurt Warner play. So
he's a great guy. He really is. He's a phenomenal guy.
And I think
it was a fantastic football player.
And I think that's the consensus you hear about people who talk about him is he's just a great person. I don't know anybody that's ever said anything bad about him, but also I know one NFL guy, so
I know. It's an incredible story.
Yeah.
How he came into the NFL. It's pretty cool, man. All the way.
It is.
So kind of where we're going to transition to, as I kind of talked at the beginning, is traps and counters. You did belly and lead for us for the clinic, and it was fantastic, and I can't wait to finish editing that and put that out. But me and you talked off screen a little bit about traps and counters, and I'm always interested on how people run them, what they run, what traps and counters they run. Because
sure.
in this offense, you can kind of go a couple different directions with it. Whether you're doing the old double handoffs,
yeah.
Whether you're pulling the tackle, pulling the guard, so. I mean, you can kind of start where you want. We'll just build off that, Coach.
Yeah. So before I get some video and some film on this, like how our trap and counter. I mean, we call it the same thing. So everything is a trap for us. We have a counter, which is the double handoff. Everybody calls it counter crisscross. We call it rumble. I'll show you that as well. But the traditional counter that a lot of people run in the wing T system, we still call it a trap. We just may tag a tackle trap. And that's kind of how we do it. But it's got the same type of footwork and fundamentals that you would have. Really with a lot of the counter stuff that's shown. And then kind of what we've done in different ways that we've worked our trap is we've used some unbalanced sets. We've tried to take advantage of trying to shift guys and make sure there's movement on the defensive line. So maybe guys that are used to getting or not used to getting trapped are now getting trapped. Those one techniques, those head up noses, that now have to shift over to an unbalanced set. We try to put them in an uncomfortable position where they're not used to doing that. If they ever get trapped, it's a rarity. So we've done that a lot and tried to work that into our system. And I can kind of show you some of the things that we've done to kind of work on the trap game. A lot of it's very similar to what you guys have seen. Like the trap game, obviously, we've done some things with motion and shifts and things like that to try to take advantage of giving guys different looks. I can kind of show you guys here just a little bit of the film. So this is this fall. We started in an unbalanced set that we run. So we'll break the huddle. Our guys will line up and like they're going in there unbalanced, and then we'll shift out of this to something different. So again, we're just trying to get defenses into these 16, 17, 18-year-old kids to see something different, have to adjust to it formationally on the fly. So here we shift, and we'll tag our rules for any trap that we run is pretty much the first guy head up to outside shade of our tackle or of our guard. I'm sorry. So that next guy is who we're trapping. So I mean, it's pretty traditional stuff. Nothing too crazy. We fake our sweep out of our trap. That's kind of what we do off of it for the most part. But you'll see here, just because our sweep is so productive and has been such a great play for us, as we pull our guys and go, I mean, a lot of the secondary guys are looking at that halfback, even though it's a garbage fake, and now our fullback's got a big lane to run. And this is a good team. I mean, Geneseo High School is traditionally an outstanding football program in the state of Illinois. And so these guys are really, really well coached. And you'll see here, I mean, just some shifting and some movement gives us an advantage. Like I said, the fake here is bad, so we do have to improve some of those things. Our quarterback should be carrying out his fake a whole lot better. But you'll see the secondary guy, get displaced only because of the fake. And now our fullback, on a quick hitter has some room to be able to run and basically takes the place of where that secondary guy was. So that was early in the game. We were able to hit that, and that was big for us. Here again, a regular, what we call blue wing formation. A simple trap play to the first guy, head up to outside shade of our guard. Once we clear, again, it comes down to the fake here to be able to get these guys displaced a little bit to sell our sweep and try to get them to come up field and just close their eyes for a second or just get them look somewhere else for a second. And then, of course, we have a fullback that's pretty talented. That helps as well. But he really doesn't get touched. That's kind of the fun part about our trap play is that we hit this thing and these guys are able to go and we're able to create big plays off of it. Here, again, this is in 2018, but you'll see it's the same type of thing where we'll kick there. And then by the time he gets to the secondary, I mean, these are fullback traps that guys are not getting touched.
Yeah.
And that's the thing because it hits so fast and because teams just aren't used to seeing these types of plays, it's a huge advantage for us. And plus we don't block guys. We're not going to block anybody outside of the guy we're kicking. So when we trap that guy, if there's a hang defender out here or a corner out here, we're not touching that guy. We can send our guys up to the next level, the second level and the third level to try to chase defenders because we're not going to touch those guys. So
during the fold and if they fold, you just run the sweep.
That's exactly right. And I think you can do some things off of trap to influence guys a little bit more. Like we'll run a trap where we pull both guys, an influence trap. We're pulling both guards. So it looks like sweep.
And what words would you influence trap? Well, is there any kind of base set, or is that just a tag?
I mean, honestly, we would like to run that if we're getting teams that are lining up head up of our guards and they're chasing. You know what I mean? So if they see sweep, they're trying to chase that stuff, and their backers are really fast flow. Then that's when we want to influence this thing. That's when we're guys up in the box are saying, you know what? Every time we run sweep, those guys are flying. Those backers are trying to scrape over top. That 3 technique or that 2 technique, whatever he's playing, he sees our guard pull and he's trying to chase. Okay, then we'll run that. And then you can run gut with that as well. A lot of people don't run gut anymore, but gut is a great football play. When you get those guys and when you go influence gut and have them both pull and you wrap that backside guard instead of kicking and they just chase that, that's a great football play. So
we did that. We opened up a playoff my first year coaching in 2015.
Yeah.
Team, it was a 40 front. And granted, we had some of the best win backs I've ever coached. And we were a jet team. So we ran jet probably about, I'd be shocked if we ran it less than 10 yards per carry that year. So we opened up the game, man. And our backside guard slipped and fell, and we only one person blocked. It was the center block back on the 1 tech.
Yeah,
and we hopped it for a touchdown. We didn't block another soul, but that's just the power of just how. I think gut was probably we did the same thing against the other team. Our best run player, we did a double gut. It was a down course.
Oh yeah.
Just kind of get two down blocks and a full block underneath of it, and it was just rapid. It was incredible.
You can be as creative as you want with this stuff. That's the cool part. Like there doesn't have to be a set way of doing things. If you're able to think outside the box and just kind of see where you can displace defenders by influencing them instead of having to block guys. A lot of the times we're not the biggest team, so we got to do things to be a little deceptive at times, and that's why the wing tee fit here at Moline and fit our kids because they were scrappy. They were fundamentally sound, and we could do things to disperse people with motion and shifts, and obviously different ways that we can block things. But when you don't have to block guys, I think it helps. I think it helps a lot. And that was something for us. Again, when you're watching this stuff, you see these guys hit, and a lot of the times there's no contact until the second level, third level, and then if you got a good player that can break a tackle and make a play. Then it changes everything. So,
what are some of the footwork that you teach your offensive linemen? Like any kind of specific degree steps or?
So
about that.
So our stuff, and this really comes from Butch Gontroff. So Butch Gontroff was the head football coach at Bellevue up in Washington, and they were like 11-time state champion under Butch up there, and I was able to meet with him before we put in our wing tee, and we talked a lot about the O-line play, especially because that's what he coached. And we're still working on it. There's a tempo to your O-line with the wing tee that you can still create. It doesn't have to be, no huddle, all that stuff. But the tempo of getting to the line of scrimmage fast, snapping down into your stance and getting off the ball low and flat and those types of things. Those are little things that we're still trying to work on. And it's going to take some time, but, I'm fortunate to have him as a reference as well to kind of talk about our system and who we learned from. So if you ever get a chance to watch, they have some film on YouTube, but the Bellevue Wolverines out of the Seattle, Washington area are just incredible. They're the best wing tee team I've ever seen. So when we teach this stuff, obviously, we teach pulls different for our guards. There's a bucket step pull that we teach, and then there's a down block or a trap pull that they're taught. The angles are all different, but their first step, pretty much in everything that we do from an upfront offensive line step, is going to be a 6-inch step. It just depends on which way they're going and what they're doing. A lot of the stuff that we do, with down blocks and those types of things, the big thing is to get your second foot in the ground faster than the defender, that you're trying to block. We feel like that power step, and I know a lot of people refer to power steps in different systems, but that power step has got to be is really the second step is the most important step in any offensive line blocking scheme that we run, because it's going to dictate if you're low enough and how to use your leverage to get into somebody. So we emphasize that second step quite a bit. We want to try to gain as much ground as we can. So if that first step is 6 inches, that second step, we want to try to get, about 18 inches if we can. But obviously a lot of guys, when they're getting used to the footwork, we're not going to get that right away. But trying to get that second step into the ground as fast as they can is always important. And obviously taking angles. We're a shoulder blocking team. You'll see that. We don't use our hands a ton. We try to shoulder block and get into guys and have low pad level and those types of things from a fundamental standpoint up front. But we're a work in progress. So like I said, you watch our film. We're not perfect. We were fortunate, like with this team in 2018, to go 9-2, and they had a great year. And then we went 7-3 the year before that, and 6-4 this last fall. But it's a work in progress. It's what we're doing with this system. So it's been good to us. Obviously, our guys like it, but the fundamentals and the little things in practice that we do every single day, I think is really what makes the O-line play functional in this type of system.
Now, and one thing I want to ask before we kind of go, but one thing I admire about your trap is your timing. I think the timing is as good as I've ever seen, especially for a program that's really not been doing it for decades, right?
Correct. Our third year.
I mean, you had your Pee-wee, your farm system. I mean, at this point, you might have some middle schoolers that have ran it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Even then, it's not great. So what are some of the things you do in the off season?
Yeah.
Anything that you do in terms of to help speed up and get the timing down?
Yeah, so a big thing with our fullbacks is, I mean, a lot of teams it's false steps. You know what I'm saying? Like when we teach our fullback, hey, your aiming point is through the midline of the quarterback as you go, and then you're going to follow that path inside of the guard on the kick and get upfield, and then you can get work your way to the outside after that. But the big thing is a false step, and we're in a 2-point stance. You'll see our kids. We're in a 2-point stance in the backfield. I like that for them to see what's going on and just to have an idea of where their cut may be and things like that. My dad is an old school wing T guy, so he would rather have our fullback's hand in the ground. We just like it up. But the thing is with that, the little again, teaching points for that position is your balance and where you are with your stance. We teach our guys that their weight is going to be on the balls of their feet. We want them to be able to kind of get that lean forward. Their hands are on their thighs. They're going to be bent down into their hands forward, and everything kind of leaning that way so that their first step is a directional step to where they're going. We don't want them stepping backwards, even though you'll see that at times. We don't want them false stepping and or going wide and doing those things. We want to take a direct path to where we're going. And because it should hit that fast, we want them to get there right after that guard gets there so they're able to hit this thing quick. So we actually teach it, if I'm a fullback, my second step is the step I'm going to cut off of regardless of which way I'm going on my trap. So my first step's going to take me downhill. My second step is going to be the one that I cut off of to make my cut to the direction I'm going. So if we're trapping to our right, our fullback's first step should be with his right foot, right down towards the quarterback. And then his second step is going to be the one after he gets the ball to what gets him cutting that direction. So we are real specific about that. We do things in the summer with our contact days. Those are the things that we focus on. We don't necessarily focus on, implementing a ton of plays and just overloading these kids with different drill work. We focus more on the fundamental aspects at each position. And that's something that we try to put an emphasis on so that our guys are really, really good at what they do. And then we can expand, because then from a knowledge standpoint, you can overload these kids until they just don't understand it. Then you got to pull back. But we wait until later on in the process to do that. We're pretty fundamental focused in the summertime, especially. And that's really the contact days that we're allowed in the state of Illinois to kind of start things from a sports specific standpoint.
Do you guys get any access in the spring?
We don't.
You don't?
We don't. No.
That sucks.
Yeah, it's a little different. But again, we have padded practices in the summer. You know what I mean? So we do have those contact days in the summer, and that's when you can kind of play with different things and try things out and give it a different shot here and there as far as how we do it. And and again, when it comes to our offensive line play, we work in the chutes, we work on the sleds. We don't drive a sled necessarily as much as we get into a sled and lift the sled. That's kind of the thing that we want them to bring their hips. If we're going to teach these guys the right way, you can drive a sled all day, but you're going to keep it. I mean, your guys are going to be, leaning on things instead of actually working it, driving, bringing their hips. So we're more focused on, lifting the sled and doing those types of things and footwork. That's really what it comes down to. When we do our sled work, we do our one-on-ones, and we do our shoot stuff. It's all footwork based. I mean, all of it, in low pad level. Like we'll start our freshmen all start in a 4-point stance. They don't have a choice. Offensive line wise, you are going to be in a 4-point stance. You're going to be heavy on your hands, which then takes some time when you got your guards pulling, those types of things, you have to adjust. But we want them a little bit heavier because we're trying to get off the ball as fast as we can and teach that tempo to try to get off the ball fast and really fire out low and where our aiming point is and pad level. And then eventually as they get used to getting into a really good football stance, then we can venture out, and be creative with our pulls and our things like that.
That's actually, I've never heard the 4-point stance. That's actually really smart. Especially since how many freshmen just,
Oh my gosh.
I mean, they just physique-wise look horrible. they can't even hold themselves up. I bet. I mean.
No, it is. It's a challenge, and honestly, it's uncomfortable. But that's the whole point. We want it to be uncomfortable. And our guys, when they do it initially, you'll look back and their feet are super wide because their base is too big. Because they have some hip flexibility issues and those types of things. So, our big thing is we don't have super wide feet in our stance. We're going to be tighter, and we want to have a flat back. So we tell our freshman coaches and even our varsity guys now, you should be able to eat your dinner off of our guy's back. That's the goal. We want a flat back where you could set a plate on there and it could stay there and it'd be level and perfect. Now, it's not always that way. And some guys, just physically struggle to get down there. But if they really work on it, we're firm believers that you can get down into that. So it's different, and again, we'll start in a 4-point and we try to get their nose as low to the ground as possible. So it's uncomfortable, but we're working on the get off, we're working on the steps, we're working on those things. And, we try to create that low pad level at an early age.
How much success do you think that's had? I mean, Gage, you had 4 or 5 years. I mean, do you think it's really been extremely beneficial with it?
Oh, I do for sure. When I got up here, they were 2-7 the year before, and then had a run of kind of a 3-6, 2-7. There was a 5-5 year in there in the mix, but, I think that the problem was, when I first got here, we tried to put in our spread system like we did. We put the whole thing in, we had it in the summer, and 2 games into my first season, that 2017 season, I said, we just can't do this. Like, this is too much. We had a dozen drop passes, and our quarterback was a good player, but he just wasn't, he was losing his confidence with things like that. So we started to transition, and it worked, and our kids bought into it. And honestly, they don't know the difference. They don't care. You know what I mean? They don't care if they're not running a spread system or if they're running this. They just want to be successful like anybody else does, and this is what gives us the best chance to be successful here at our school. And we've done some things from a spread standpoint formationally as well to still run our base plays out of it. And it's been successful with it. We've been very fortunate from that standpoint. So, I think, again, we've won the 4th playoff game in our school history. Our school opened in 1952. So the fact that we've been able to accomplish that alone, I think, was really big in a short time span. But our kids deserve a lot of credit because they bought into everything we're doing.
Sure, I can't wait to come visit you guys and see a statue. But
shoot, come on now. No.
First playoff win in history, man. You're a legend there.
Yeah, that stuff. There's a lot more than just one guy that has to do things right to build the program.
I couldn't wait to eat at a restaurant named after you.
See, this is what happens when I let Derry start taking over conversations.
Oh my god!
Start talking about statues.
There's no statue. Trust me, there's no statue in the making. That's flattering, but there's not. But no, we've just had some tough, scrappy kids, honestly, and great kids, and really good football coaches that have bought into this. And it is fun. I don't care what anybody says. The wing tee is a fun system. It really is, and there's a lot of things you can do with just little plays to make it that way. And to keep learning and understand the game. I think it's fun. That's again when we come like our counter play, and I can show you some of the examples of that. So I mean. Now what we do a lot of the times when we run our counter, we'll send this guy in motion. That's what we did a lot more this last fall. But this is, I think, maybe the 3rd time we ran it in 2018. Okay. And just the movement of the reverse out and trap motion there and the whole, I mean, we got guys walking down the field with nobody to block because there's nobody at the, everybody at the point of attack got upfield or went this way. And we actually went a guard counter on this one. So a lot of times we'll tag our tackle. But on this one, we went guard, and he pulls through, and he kicks this guy out. And you'll see here, I mean, as our guy's running through, this is an A-gap run play, and you didn't get touched. Those are the things with motion and deceptions of different movement, our quarterback reversing out, our halfback or fullback going the opposite direction. These are plays in the wing tee that are pretty low maintenance plays, I'd like to say. Yeah. But are big time. They're big time plays because they can help you be successful. It's the same thing here as we go motion. This was this last fall. There's our tackle kicking, our running back making a cut. If he could have kept his feet, I think he probably could have scored. But again, we'll tag it with our tackle. Okay, so we're still going to kick out the first guy head up to outside shade of our guard. The rules stay the same. Our guard wants the inside release to the second level. Our center's going to block back. Our tackle's going to get upfield. So you see, our tackle's got a free release up here to the backer. We'll try to use that motion because of this. So you see with the motion, this guy comes, and now what that does is create a lane. And now here's our backside guard getting into somebody. If our backside tackle had just kept working up, like I said, I think this is a touchdown. But he kind of started looking back, and we got caught. But if he just looked up, I think we probably could have walked in the end zone on this. And we teach our halfback, he's going to take a jab step, come right back underneath, follow the tackle, and it's been a good play for us. And here it is again.
I'm impressed how well you guys hit the A gap. I think that's been the hardest part about coaching at Fairborn here. I came from a place that was just a well-oiled team, and when I ran the wing tee up, we ran the wing tee up at Pitt. But
yeah,
trying to get them to hit the A gap and get vertical on a gap scheme rather than kind of aim for the B gap if the B gap isn't open. Even though if it's a B gap play,
yes,
higher, you can still bend that way. But trying
which
to get
this is, and it is. It's supposed to be to the next shade over. But our guys, they understand their track is taking them through the A. It's going to take through the A gap before they go anywhere. And so for that's kind of how we talk about and how we teach it. And we want these guys to hit this thing tight before they get to the next level. And obviously, if you have if the guys are in the backfield, they're in the backfield for a reason. They should be able to make a jump cut. They should be able to make it, their vision should be what it needs to be successful. And you'll see here it's the same thing. We go guard on this one, and we even miss guys, but we end up on the next level. And again, this is in 2018, but we're able to get to the next level, and our guys were able to make plays at that point and use their speed, to take advantage of those things. So, our counter really is our trap, and that's kind of how we call it. And then, our actual counter, the counter that everybody else knows. And I'll try to see if I can find a good one here for you guys to give you an example of it. But, I think our kid gets caught here. But we call this, we call it rumble. So we're going to, everybody play side is blocking down. Your deal is you're going to block down, you're going to double team and block down to the backside guys. We'll pull our guard and tackle. Our fullback is going to replace the first guy to outside shade of the guard, because our center is going to block back, so he should be here. Our fullback would take the next guy. We're going to kick the last man on the line of scrimmage, then we're going to wrap up for the next. But again, the deception of giving a handoff going this direction helps pull guys, so you kind of have a double positive with that, where you have, flow coming this way, but you also have it coming back the other way. And we've run this, probably sparingly, not as much as we should. But, when our guy hits it and cuts up, it's a good football play. And we've run this. My dad actually used to run it where our quarterback would be a pitch guy off of this.
I have film of it where we actually did pitch it to probably, I'll have to go find it. I'll show it to you one day. It's funny as heck I've ever seen.
It's a great play. If you have a good quarterback, an athletic quarterback who can chase this thing and chase it down and get into a pitch relationship, and a good wingback or halfback that can actually get it out, it's a phenomenal play. It really is. So we
twice in a game.
Oh my God, that's rare. Now that is rare.
It's pretty sweet, man. I'll try to find it. It was hysterical.
I love it. But it's just, it's a good football play, and it's something. It's just another. It's basically an auxiliary play for us. But
are you going A gap here too as well?
It shouldn't hit A gap. It shouldn't.
Yeah.
But we do teach our guys and our running backs or our wings, when they get the ball, it's getting vertical. You're not going to try to stretch this thing as soon as you take the handoff. We don't want him taking the handoff here and trying to press this thing to the outside because we're going to kick somebody out. You know what I mean? So as we kick a guy out, we're wrapping up underneath it. You got to be underneath that kick out block. So we don't really tell him. We just tell him you got to make sure you're underneath the kick out block. And our center does a really bad, or our tight end does a bad job on this play. We got away with it, but that's kind of the thing where you want everybody kind of walling that down, where then you come and kick out, wrap up, in the GT scheme of things, and get vertical. So we want to get vertical before we end up trying to go hash number sidelines with this.
How hard is it to teach a tackle to pull like this?
Honestly, we teach all of our tackles to pull because they pull on our what we call tackle trap. So they're used to doing it. Like we tell them, we start with all of our linemen. We teach all of them how to pull. They all have to learn how to trap pull. He doesn't bucket step pull, so that's pretty much for our guards. Our tackles don't bucket step pull at all, but our tackles do. They all have to learn how to trap pull. And then obviously with this one, because they're wrapping, it takes a little bit of time, but we do enough drill work, where they get used to it. And honestly, it's been pretty seamless from a teaching point, transition into that.
Okay.
How much repetition do you guys do? I can speak for what I did. We did this probably every day pre-practice. We were blessed to have 7-mans in the spring.
Oh, yeah.
We were able to do base backfield 100 times with this play. But how when you started putting this in, how hard was it to make sure the double handoff didn't get fumbled, et cetera?
It takes time from that standpoint. And it's a timing thing.
You guys rep that? And
we rep it.
Specific things to help others?
Yeah. So we rep it like crazy. So what we do is we run like a wing T Skelly. And basically what it is, it's all our skill guys, and they come together and we rep everything. And I'm talking everything. So, I do have some film of that stuff, but what we do from just the spring practice, I don't know if I saw it. Yeah, here we go. Like here's our wing T Skelly stuff from a contact day. So what we'll do is we'll have a whole bunch of huddles. Our guys will come together and we just mesh everything. We mesh everything that we do, and we go over and over. So they'll run through. They got to sprint through 10 yards. The next group will come up. They'll run the exact same play. They'll sprint through 10 yards. Then the next group will come up, and they got to run the next play. So we run our rumble like through that, and we'll work on it. And we work the handoff. And if we don't get it right, we'll stop. Just like right there, we false started. We'll stop. We'll bring it back. Do it again. And our guys just get used to going through that. So we spend, I mean, this is no joke. This is a 25-minute period, where guys are our O-line a lot of the times will split. So we do flip our offensive line, so because of that, we'll send our strong guard and our strong tackle, with one of our offensive line coaches. We'll send our quick guard, our quick tackle with another one, and they'll work on obviously whatever plays we're running for that day, but then, and fixing those types of mistakes. But they'll work on everything that we're going to do for that practice. And we just rep it over and over and over. So we feel like it cuts the learning down, because a lot of the other stuff that we're doing, we'll zone step it backside, and like if we're running down, to the tight end wing side, we're zoning backside, so we don't want to sit there and have all 5 of our linemen together just to have those guys work on their zone backside steps all the time as we're trying to implement our down play. So instead of doing that, they'll head over and they'll work on lead, or they'll work on belly to their side, or they'll work on trap to their side. And so we do the same thing with our skill guys. We'll sit there and rep this stuff. Like, see, we got 20, 30 some plays in this. I don't know, 26 plays. But I mean, we had a lot more than that, I think, that didn't get filmed, and we just rep over and over again. And it gets our young guys reps. And it's a segment that we put in. Coach Gontroff at Bellevue talked to me about it. He's like, you have to get your guys to do this. This is a phenomenal period that we did every single day. It's good for footwork. It's good for those types of things. And then when you want to slow it down, you can slow it down.
I'm big into this stuff right here. We always did line tape to make sure the running backs saw the gaps and they were hitting, especially we wanted to make sure that they were hitting the A gap.
Yep.
We thought, now we blocked crisscross a little bit different. We blocked it like power because we never played backwards.
Okay.
So I mean,
did you pull a tight end?
No, we would kick it out with the fullback and then the guard would.
There you go. Yeah. Okay. Because I've seen the tight end too at times. Like I've seen the tight end get pulled.
That timing is weird. I don't know how that.
You have to have a tight end that can move to run the tight end pull one.
Yes.
So at least in this offense, maybe in some other some gun stuff, it times up a little better because they're deeper and all that stuff. But out of here, God, he's got to be able to haul.
Man, that guy better have some great feet. You know what I mean? He better. But then again, you have to spend time teaching him how to pull.
Yep.
And him how to do those things. And in our system with what we do with our tight end, if he's not running a route, I mean, he's down blocking, he's double teaming, and that's pretty much it. I mean, it's not very complicated for him.
Well, that's a long way to pull, though, too, man.
Oh, it's a really long way to pull.
I mean, I've seen it done. It works and it worked for them. That's cool. I just can't even try to fathom.
It's not for us either. I don't believe in that.
We were pulling tight ends, though. When we get in the 20 personnel with a sniffer back, we always pulled it, obviously, for counter. He would just lead on through like power.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's a lot easier, man. You can kind of sniff him in right in between the guard and tackle.
Yep.
Get nice and flat, grab a towel. Linebacker flows out, kick him out. If he sits, log him.
See, that's something out of that formation, that type of set, you could do almost anything you wanted with that guy.
Yeah. Now, what do you do? What's your progression with the guards and tackles? Or is it strictly log, or are you teaching them to kind of read for flow with sit?
Are you talking about backside?
Yeah. So when you're pulling and you're trying to block that play side back, are you just
I gotcha.
to log him, or are you trying to kick him out, read the linebacker? How do you guys go about that?
So basically, we teach nothing but tracks. Obviously, we tell our guys, hey, this is who you're supposed to be blocking. But in a football play at the high school level, things don't always work out that way. You know what I mean? It's going to change. Things change. So we just teach tracks with almost everything that we do. So when we tell our backside or our tackle, backside tackle, that where you're going, you're pulling, you're wrapping, we always tell them where their eyes need to be. Here's your eyes. We want your eyes to be looking, at that play side line, inside linebacker. That's the guy you're wrapping for. But as you go and you stay on your track, if that guy disappears because we handed the ball off going the direction where you started from, then you stay on your track. And then you look inside, you look back inside. If there's somebody inside, you help seal. If there's nobody there, then you go get yourself a highlight block on a safety or something like that. Because it's one of those things, we want to keep the track as best we can because that's what they're used to. And ultimately, somebody's going to show up. Like we looked at when I showed that our tackle trap earlier, and if our backside tackle had just stayed on his track working across, he would have ran right into the guy that ended up making the tackle. But instead, he stopped and kind of looked back for somebody that he thought he was supposed to block that disappeared. That's a teaching thing. That's on us. It's on us as coaches. It should have been like, hey, no matter what, stay on your track. It's the same thing when we're pulling those guys. They got a track that they stay on.
My job, my first year was pretty much like a GA on offense.
Oh yeah.
I would yell at the tight end or the tackle, stovepipe. I just followed him.
That's it.
That was the difference between, once I kind of got out of the GA phase, and that was their responsibility. But
I get it.
I know you guys don't run a rumble a lot, but you guys have a steal concept out of rumble where we did this a couple times. It was pretty good. Well, crisscross. Now to be fair, crisscross was probably at one point our second most ran play.
Yeah.
It's when we ran jet so well, we ran crisscross. That was what we did. So, but we had a steal concept where we faked the handoff.
Oh yeah.
You have anything like that in your play?
So off of Rumble, you can also run, or at least from the action, you can run trap, you can run dive, you can run any of that stuff. And I know this is going to be crazy trying to find this. So I know I talked to Coach a little bit about this before, but when I was at Cedar Rapids Prairie, we put in our wing tee in 3 days.
I forgot to ask about that. Yeah.
It was nuts. We put it in 3 days to win a game that we absolutely had to win. We had to win it, to get into the playoffs. We were down to our third string quarterback. We had lost, linemen. We had lost receivers. We were so decimated, it wasn't even funny. And I told our guys, hey, this has got to be the answer. this is all we got. This is what we're going to go to. And we did. We put it in 3 days, and we ended up winning 49-0. And it was fantastic. Our kids bought into it. They freaking loved it. It was amazing. But we actually ran in the second round. This is a playoff game. Oh, if I can get the video to show up. We ran this play off of Rumble, and you'll see, off the Rumble action, we have a 250-pound fullback. Yeah, here it is right here. So we put it in with our guys under center, but we ran the Rumble action in the backfield and pretty much ran a dive look off of this thing. And you'll see here, as this kid, he puts the ball back behind him, runs dive, and watch this corner, has no idea where the ball. This is a 250-pound kid, man. We put this in 3 days. Okay, 3 days. And this kid had no idea, saw maybe the Rumble look, comes flying up. The safety had no idea what was happening. And he reached behind. It's kind of a blind handoff for our quarterback. And just getting guys to move in the secondary, helped this kid rattle off a 90-yard touchdown run as a 250-pound back. So
honestly, man, I'm going to actually kind of take a mental note. That might be the coolest thing.
Coach, it's amazing. And you can run, honestly, you can trap it if you wanted to.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like my dad ran trap off of this thing when I was playing for him at Pleasant Valley. So I as a quarterback, I just take the ball, put it back, hand it off. The fullback would have to take it and then follow the same exact tracks that he'd take on a normal trap. and then I'd sell our rumble, our wing would sell rumble, everybody would sell rumble, and it was a great play for us. We did dive, simple dive, only because we put it in so quick. We didn't want to overload the footwork and the handoffs and stuff. But we had over 400 yards of 450 yards of total offense in 2 games. So really about 1,000 yards in 2 games. And we put it in 3 days, and it was awesome. And our kids loved it.
Do you want to talk a little bit more about that? Because, I meant to start talking about this earlier, and I completely spaced.
Yeah,
Because I talked to Derry, because after we talked last time, I talked to Derry about, he installed Wing T in 3 days and won a playoff game. Got into the playoffs because of it.
Yeah,
so
it was a...
You want to talk about that process a little more?
Yeah, so basically we were a spread team, and we did a lot of things with it, and we had success at Prairie when I was there doing it. But like I said, we had a bunch of injuries, we had a bunch of young guys, we were just inexperienced, and we had a game that we had to win against a team that was coming in 5-3, and was a good football team. And we made the decision I was getting on the bus, and my dad, who's an old Wing T guy, came over to me and he's like, to win the game next week, you've got to do something different. So I spent the entire weekend going over things with him, going over things with our coaches. Showed up on Monday. I told our kids, this is what we have to do. If you believe in it, if you trust in the process, if you understand what we're trying to get done here, this is what's going to help us be successful. And our kids were tremendous. Unbelievable with it. So we did. We put it in. We put in trap. We put in our lead play. We put in, some ice. It was so simple. It's not even funny. And we go in and we put in a bootleg and we put in rumble. And we put it in, and the team we were playing, it was funny because we get the ball right away, and we run a couple plays, and we pick up a bunch of yards, and all of a sudden they call a timeout. Okay, so then we score 2 plays later. Well, we get the ball back. It's still in the first quarter. We run 3 plays. He calls another timeout. So they ended up burning all 3 timeouts in a 6-minute span in the first quarter because they had no idea what we were doing. And it was so fun, and our kids were loving it, and everybody was just going crazy. And like I said, we had a lot of success, and we ran for, we ended up running for 400 yards that game and threw for another 100 off play action, and then went into a playoff game and lost in overtime at the very end to a team that was undefeated and going into that game and or close to it, and it was district champion for sure. But it was awesome. It was a fun experience. Our kid loved it, and the crazy part was after the season ended, they were all like, "Coach, why didn't we do that sooner?" So they in the world of spread offenses where all these kids want to spread it out and that's all you hear they want to do, really what it comes down to, they just wanted to be successful, and they wanted something to believe in and to buy into, and that's what it was, and it did it for us.
I agree. I've never been in the boat that kids want a certain offense or don't want a certain offense. They don't know any better. We were all players at one point, and you might have known better than others, but we didn't know.
I don't know. We wanted to win. You know what I mean? Yeah. We wanted to be successful. We wanted to have a great experience. I think that's really what it came down to. And regardless of what you run, you guys have been around football a lot. You've seen single wing teams that are very successful. You've seen, spread 5-wide teams, air raid that are successful, wing T teams. It really comes down to your kids. It comes down to what fits your community. And what fits kind of the personnel that you have, and then being able to adjust on a year-to-year basis.
That's the big thing. It really doesn't matter what scheme you run, offense, defense, or special team. It's just how well can you coach it, and how well do you know your own scheme to make adjustments on the fly.
Yeah.
I remember my first year being a DC, I had to go off my call sheet 3 games in a row. They're just wrong. My game plan was they came out with something I really didn't expect. But I knew how to adjust right away, and believe me, we were outflanked and we weren't prepared, but it just kind of being able to be quick on your feet. But I do got to say, being a DC, if I ever have to play you and you pull a stunt like that, please get scored to your bus. Come out with the offense, man.
Oh, believe me. It was funny because I was coaching the Shrine game in the state of Iowa that summer, and I had guys from the other side that we were playing. They're like, "What are you running? What are you running? Is this going to be the spread, or is this going to be the wing T, or is it?" I was like, "Bit of both, my man. We're coming with everything. You got to be ready." So it was cool. I kind of became a running joke with things across the state of Iowa for a while, but or at least on the east side of Iowa. But honestly, it comes down to fundamentals. If your team's really good fundamentally, I think you can win in just about any system. But I think it's it's even more beneficial in a system like the wing T where you can win with smaller guys. You know, you can win with deception. You can win with shifts and motions and angles and taking advantage of those things with guys as long as they're great fundamentally.
Yeah, and I've always been, someone asked me, and I was kind of like just shocked by the question. It's like, what do you do if you got a really good lineman or a really good skill guy? I'm just like, then the wing T's even better. Because, like, what hits for a 15-yard gain for a slow kid is now a touchdown.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You know, we talk about putting our kids in great angles. I mean, we had to go against a guy, my first year coaching, we had a kid all-state inside linebacker. And then there was a guard. He's a center at Ohio State now. He's a 5-star.
Wow.
And his dad played at UK. His brother played at UK. Just great family. And they just ran buck sweep and power. And, I mean, this guy's no slouch. He went to OU to play football.
Yeah,
They ran power first play of the game and knocked him 5 yards back.
Oh, my gosh.
And then the next play, they ran a trap, and he piped in, just backside. He was the play side guard and went and got the play side backer and leveled him. Same guy. I'm just like, this guy. I mean, but again, man, now that you got a superstar, now he's got easy angles.
Oh, my gosh.
He's devastated.
It's amazing what you can do, you know, and we've never had, you know, at least not at Moline, we have not had a Division I player, but, you know, I look at some of the film that I saw from Coach Gontroff at Bellevue. I mean, he had Miles Jack, you know, he had Buda Baker, you know, playing running back for him.
Jack's not any good. I don't know, man.
Oh my gosh. Those two were incredible. But then at the same time, they had Division I offensive linemen all over the place, you know, who played in a wing T system and then went and played at UW in a spread or USC in a spread.
Yeah.
But the transition was seamless because the physicality, it was already there. You know, they were already super physical kids.
No, they got to learn how to pass, bro. They got to kick the leg back. Oh, no.
Hey, man, shoot, any kid can learn how to pass pro. You know, but you can't teach kids the physicality and the fundamentals of being able to run block. Those things are premiums.
Yeah, and let's be honest. Those D1 linemen are redshirting anyways. You have a full year to teach them to pass pro anyways. So don't give me this. Oh, they got to learn. They'll learn to pass pro. If they are truly a Division I athlete, they'll learn how to pass pro. It's not like, and if you have a good O-line coach, and most of them won't.
Oh my gosh! From a footwork standpoint, they'll learn that stuff in no time. And what do you think they're going to do? They're going to spend their freshman year playing scout team for whoever they're playing, doing that stuff. Yeah. You know, so that's there's no excuse for that. If you're a D1 guy, you're a D1 guy. Yeah. You know, I believe that too. What else, guys?
What's your response to an angry fan that yells, "Throw the dang ball"? What's your response to that?
Okay, so here was our response. The first two plays we ran in 2019 were both play action passes for touchdowns. So we had like 90 yards passing in our first two plays. And I thought, if that's not good enough to get that off, then I don't know what is. And I don't know if we threw the ball the rest of the game after that.
That's actually really smart. I'm going to note that.
But that's it.
Start action plays early in the game.
That was it.
Get it out of the way.
First two.
Get it out of the way.
First two. I mean, that was it. We opened it up. But I don't know. Honestly, we've had all conference receivers every year, every single year. Because when they do make catches, it's down the field. It's big-time yards per catch and touchdowns. And then what other coaches notice is that our guys will block. Yeah. You know, you have to learn how to block, and you have to be a physical kid from that standpoint. So our kids are good blockers from the receiver standpoint, and then they're also, when they do catch a bootleg or catch a screen or catch whatever it is we're throwing, you know, a lot of the times it's for a big play, you know, and it's down the field. So they still get the accolades.
I think the wing T is so fun, especially when you're ahead of schedule. And
oh, my gosh.
Throw when you want to throw. Not because you have to, kind of. I'll never forget, I was scouting the team. It was that same kid with that center at Ohio State. They ran buck left and power left. Every play in the first half, there was like 27 plays in a row. 28th play, they ran waggle. And I'm
and there's probably nobody there.
Oh my God! He could have thrown to any three levels, and it's a walk in. I'm scoring a touchdown. I could throw myself the ball in the air, run under it, catch it, and run for a touchdown. That's how wide open it was. That's a well coached team that they played too.
Well, and we threw against a playoff team this year. We threw a bootleg, and we ended up, our quarterback ended up setting up and throwing to a backside post from our receiver. There's nobody in the vicinity, and he one hopped it. I mean, short throw. We ran the exact same play the next play. The exact same thing. Nobody was within 20 yards again. I mean, it's just incredible because they're so keyed on guards and everything else. The safety came up, the corner sat, we ran right by him. I mean, I think you could have a really, really efficient play action game if you get creative and just tag things. We go back to like the Kurt Warner stuff. We'll go play action off our run game stuff and then just tag different concepts. And we have a menu of concepts that we can tag. And so now we're really not handcuffed necessarily from a passing game standpoint. I think that's what's really helped open things up and give us different looks in the passing game also.
Okay. Now, I want to go back to your traps and counters real quick.
Yeah.
Is there any like this front, I want to run this one. Is this front, I'm running this one. What do you, I mean, obviously for like your basic trap, are they going with your sweep? But is there anything you're like, else you're specifically looking for when you're running your traps and counters?
I mean, not necessarily. Obviously, we want to try to run to the 3 technique if we can. We want to try to do those things. We want to try to do unbalanced formations. Like I told you, we want to try to get a guy that's not used to being trapped, and we want to trap that guy. We want to take advantage of those guys. So we try to do that quite a bit. When we kick a guy, we have long and short calls is what our offensive line calls it. So if we get a look that's just not it's kind of a shady look, the communication with our offensive line has to happen. And it does. Every play, we have our guys talk and say something. Regardless of what, even if it's relevant to the play that we're running, they have to say something. Yeah. And that takes some time. But, our guys on a trap play, to the direction we're going, they're going to have to give a long and short call sometimes. If we don't get a 3 technique, maybe he's in a 2-eye, and our guard wants to block him down, he'll give a long call. Long. That's going to tell our backside guard as he goes, we're still aiming for that inside shoulder. We're still trying to obviously change the line of scrimmage. So when we pull, it's down the line. It's on the other side of the line of scrimmage. We don't want to go straight down the line. That's a big thing with young guys as they go. When they go to pull on a trap, the line of scrimmage hopefully is changing. So we want to make sure we take that at an angle. And when we make contact off that guy's inside shoulder, it's on the other side of the line of scrimmage. We don't want to go straight down the line. So when we teach this stuff, a lot of the times we'll do it where we're on a line and we make sure that our guard sees where he's at when he makes contact. Because if he's actually at the line of scrimmage, he's wrong. That's not the angle we want to take. We want to be physical enough to get guys down and change the angle on things to be able to get down the line of scrimmage and make contact on the other side of it.
Okay. That's always kind of one thing I'm looking like. What are people looking for when they're running X, Y, Z?
And I just think if you say we have to get this specific look, that's letting the defense dictate what we're doing. Yeah. So that's why you have to have a call and you have to have an adjustment, on the fly that your kids can make. So when you make this call, hey, you take ownership of this play, you got to communicate it back so these guys know where it's going to happen. If we got some really funky look where, there's nobody in certain gaps, there's a huge, we have to know that. Our guys got to know that. So when he gets there, he's not just standing looking. He's got to stay on his track all the way. But we want to be able to trap pretty much anything, head up to outside shade of that guard. That's really the fundamental key for us, what we're looking for on a trap.
Okay. Derry, Coach Derry, you got anything else before I continue?
No, that's really good. It's something that we were able to really do well last year is we had a smart quarterback, and we were able to just, if we were running last year, really being involved in the offense, if we were running, red, trap right, one technique to the tight end side, get an under front, our quarterback was smart enough to go over.
Yeah.
And trap the other way.
Yeah. So we have an opposite call, and we let, if we have a smart quarterback can do that, where he comes up opposite, and then we just run it the opposite way. But we just honestly, our guards, the guards we have had, they would rather just go long. That's the thing. They go, just let us go long. Like, let's long it. And then everybody else gets through and they go. But we do have it.
Do you feel like that one tech can cause a little bit of problems? Or have you guys had a good amount of success with long traps?
We have. We've had a ton of success with it. We have. But now if that guy's if he's going to be a dude that we can't even double team and get off the ball. If our guard can't block the guy, because ultimately that's what it would come down to. If our guard's got a one tech, it's going to be him that's got to go down on that guy. So if he can't, if that guy's a penetrator, we would call him penetrator, and he's able to get upfield on us, then we don't have a choice but to go opposite. We have to.
Would you block with the center block back on the 3-tech, or would you just scoop him?
We'd send him back. A lot of the plays that we do, only because we always send them back on that track, because if a backer were to shoot that gap and our guy were to step play side A, we're in deep trouble.
That's my staple point, especially with buck sweep.
Oh yeah.
In the front and just kind of, because you're losing that backside A. I mean, no matter what. I mean, I know. And I know in buck sweep that fullback doesn't like picking up a blitzing linebacker.
No, they hate it.
It just happens too fast to where even his trap fake doesn't get it.
See, and even like that's been a problem for us on sweep, because we'll have our guy, our center always checks play side A before he works back. So as he does that, he goes back. Our fullback's got to be a freaking guy.
Yeah.
He just does. He's got to be a guy. He's got to be a dude that's able to step in there and you don't gotta kill anybody, man. You just gotta, even if you get blown up and run over, it's okay as long as we get the handoff, off to the halfback. So I don't know. That's the fun part I think about game planning with teams. And kind of saying, well, maybe we have to adjust this, maybe we have to adjust that. But I think you can do it in this type of system because it gives you that flexibility.
How many mutant fronts do you see? Like just odd, just dumb. That's probably that word, but
the crazy part about this system, I think, is that everybody treats it differently. So you may not get what what you study with all the time, or what you're looking at, your opponent's scout films. They could come and come something completely different, and a lot of the times they do. So we don't necessarily focus on, hey, this is the front we're going to be going against. We try to teach our kids to be able to understand and to read, especially up front, everything. So our guys have to call out our center, our guards. They have to identify every front, every single one, no matter what, no matter who. They're calling out, even, odd, 40, 50, 60. They're calling out things that our guys understand to kind of help them. Okay, well, here's if this guy's in a 3, odds are this is his gap responsibility. If this guy's here, this is his gap responsibility. Here's where he's going to be a penetrator, or here's where he could be angling to. But we see all kinds of stuff, now, just like any wing T team.
And I know I love the kids because they always come off the field and we got them. They know that's not what they run, And I always think if you have to come out with a different defense,
exactly, something's good. Something's good for us offensively. I agree.
Now, in terms of getting your lineman there to make those calls and make those adjustments, is that more? Do you harp with that heavily when you're teaching it about the X, Y, Z, or does that come more with time as they've learned the scheme better and you got more the longer you've been in this, they've been in this system?
I think it's actually a bit of both, honestly. When we're teaching and installing at the very beginning of the summer, it's easy because we go against our defense, so we kind of show things with our odd front defense and start that way. But that's when the identification has to start for them. So they'll identify an odd, they'll identify a 0 and in 5s or 4 eyes or whatever it is, and they have to be able to call that stuff out and be able to say what that is and why it is that. So when we start installing those things, our line coaches are really good. But again, we split. We go a lot of half line stuff when we teach this, to focus on what they're looking at. So if they're going to zone, it's easy. It's zone, so it doesn't really matter. You're stepping in. We teach a gap backside zone, so they're gap zone into where they need to go. But when they're able to say, okay, so I'm in we're going to see an even front, and we're focusing on our lead play. So those guards and tackles will have will line up in different ways with bags, and we'll mix them and match them. Our guards and tackles have to understand what our calls are, what our blocking adjustments are. But the only way to understand that is if they can identify the fronts. So we take the time to teach that, and that's something they have to know. And then as we progress. A practice throughout the course of the week for us, we'll mix and match all kinds of different fronts, all of them. It's something where we can't be unprepared at some point. So, because, like I'm sure you guys experience, teams will come out in random stuff. So we have to make sure we're ready, and our kids are ready, but that's the mental piece, as much as anything.
No, that's the coaching point I can hammer home too. I do this. I call it just a random period, and I'll put in twins alert, and I just want to just put in as many doubles concepts or trips concept plays, even if they haven't shown them, but just kind of continuously giving our kids a look of like, hey,
oh, for sure,
hey, this can happen. I mean, we're not perfect. I mean, for crying out loud, man. I mean, we all have stuff in our playbooks that we haven't shown yet.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, you got to be prepared for everything, and I think
yes.
One thing I've always done, and we always enjoyed it. I think first and foremost, you got to have 2 offensive linemen.
Yes.
I mean, it's just.
I agree. I definitely
we never
agree with
flipped, but we were able to do like, I could install belly, and the other guy could install jet.
Yes.
Or we could just do belly versus an odd front, belly versus an even front.
Well, and that's
get
the thing.
The rules in, get the adjustments in, and then after
Correct.
that, you script them and just make it uncomfortable.
Correct.
I mean, you got to make the training as hectic as possible. And, I mean, because it's going to be hectic on Friday.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's constantly change. I mean, I think the hard part is having a platoon staff. You know what I mean? So when you're kind of like not the defensive coaches aren't really engaged in offense and vice versa, so it's hard to kind of put together a scout team scripted that way.
Sure.
But I will say, man, trying to do that as much as possible has probably been the most beneficial thing I ever had as an O-line coach. Just script as many different funky looks and make it chaotic.
It's and you can do it, I mean, at any level too. You know what I mean? It only takes, even if you take 5 minutes and you're just going rapid fire and giving different looks. I mean, you can give, in 20 minutes, you've given 4 different looks, like 5 different looks. I mean, that's the key, is just using that time efficiently and trying to take advantage of the different things that you anticipate seeing, but getting that knowledge to the kids, because that's really where it matters. They're the ones making the adjustments on the fly.
Yeah.
And gentlemen, I think that's a good place to end it. I think this has been fun. I don't want to make this an hour and a half, 2 hours long, and our viewers go like, "Why is this 2 hours?"
I know, but you know how it is. That's always how it goes.
Oh yeah, I mean, we could ramble here and go down 18 rabbit holes for the next 3 hours and just be fun with it. So
agreed.
So Coach, I appreciate you coming on, talking your traps and counters. Coach Derry, it's good seeing you again as always. And then that was another episode of the Gap Down Backer podcast.